Do I need a little more gas? Or would I like to put the brakes on my body for a bit? Like, am I going too full on too fast? I just want to apply a little bit of brake. And that's a different way to look at the parasympathetic nervous system. It's just kind of like, okay, gas and brakes. There's nothing right or wrong. You're a human. You're not going to be regulated all the time, right? Life happens. And the target is more, how do we build and create a flexible nervous system and one that doesn't get stuck in one of those states? Welcome to the Shift Your Vibe to Thrive podcast. My name is Emily Evans Russell, and I'm a single mom, multiple six-figure business owner, and master mindset and energy coach. I created this podcast with two main targets. One, to give you practical tools so that no matter where you are in your life right now, you not only know that things can shift, but you know how to make them greater. And two, to change your frequency so that you become an energetic match for everything you desire. I'm talking your relationships, your finances, your success, all of it. Think of this podcast as your weekly energetic upgrade with a mix of subconscious mind hacks, ways to quantum leap, and consciousness shifts. A place where you learn to sculpt your reality and actually finally truly have the magical life you deserve and one that works for uniquely you. Are you ready to uplevel your reality? I think I hear yes, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Thank you so much for being here. And now let's go to the show. So I wanted to create this podcast today for all of you out there that know what it's like to reach a point where either you are just so stressed out and tired, the only thing on your mind is, I have to take a break, or your body does it for you. Like you fall into a big sickness after a time of like a lot of output. Or maybe you've actually reached burnout, and there are different phases of that, which when I learned about that really helped me understand burnout. Like that can also just be getting to a place in your life or at work where you're irritated and frustrated by everything. Like you just don't feel like yourself. You don't have to end up in a hospital collapse to have burnout, you know? And I think most of us, at least most of the people I know, have been in one of those stages and experienced that on some level. And there's very many different levels on that spectrum. But if you can relate to any of that, like I look at the different phases I've had in my life, kind of like single, ambitious woman, mom trying to do it all, really good worker, working like creative output. Like I love creation. And then running my own business. So as an entrepreneur, and most people I know, as I've gone through those phases in my own life, and also I tend to, like the people in my world are in those categories. Some are moms, some are single, some are business owners, some have a job they really love. But all of them have this, I want to say like it's an ambition, it's a drive for like, I know there's more possible in this life and I would like more, which then can lead us into this state of, I got to be more, I got to do more. And that can wind us up in exhaustion and just like busyness all the time, where that's not really where we desire to be. It's just busy and running in a hamster wheel. But it's so easy to end up there when you, again, desire to be creative. And there's so many like outputs for that. It could be a business, it could be your family, it could be the community. But I really wanted to do this episode to talk just a little bit about how our nervous system and our body, how can we expand our nervous system capacity to experience greater levels of relaxation and peace and rest and pleasure and experience a broader range of those states. That's like one side of the spectrum. And then also be able to hold more like energy and capacity in our bodies, like build that up, that vibration, that energy without getting overwhelmed and with also staying present in the body. So those are actually capacities in our nervous system in all directions, right? And how do we begin to do that? Because a lot of you maybe are interested in this episode or have learned on your own more about the nervous system, right? And there's the part of the nervous system we call the autonomic nervous system, which is the part that runs everything automatically for us in the background. Like it beats, controls your heart rate and your body temperature and the oxygen levels, like your breath, all of this amazing things your body is doing for you. And the primary goal of the nervous system is to keep you alive, right? It's survival. And the beautiful thing with that is it's kind of like scanning your environment. It's like having a camera on all the time. And your senses are taking in information from the environment all the time to let you and your body know, okay, is it safe for me to relax because it's all about survival, or instead should I be worried about a threat? And in response to that threat, you have probably heard of fight or flight. And that part of the nervous system, which we often refer to as the sympathetic nervous system, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which you'll often hear referred to as like, that's my relax, that's my rest. I'm able to rest and digest my food when that part of the nervous system is turned on. But I want to talk about just a teeny bit of nuance. We won't get super into that here. I do that more in some of my programs and sessions, but we'll keep this high level. Just enough for understanding is it's a little more nuanced than that, because it's not like fight or flight and that sympathetic response, that automatic response of, hey, there's a threat. It's not the only thing it's doing, and it's not all bad. I like to think more of the sympathetic nervous system as putting on the gas. So what's the energetic state you desire to have more in your body? And if you're feeling kind of like tired and sluggish and lethargic, or maybe even depressed and like just not wanting to mobilize or move or take action, then we might want a little more gas, right? Put a little more gas into that. That's the sympathetic nervous system. It's very much a mobilized, active response. And that primitive response is, I am going to run away from something, flight, or run towards something and fight it. But in general, what that's also doing is just activating the nervous system. And that can be great to put on a little bit of gas when we want to do a really intense workout that day, or climb a mountain, or like we would like a little more energy, then we can add the gas. And so if we look at it that way, it's not like all bad, like, oh no, I never want to be in my sympathetic nervous system, because that's a little too simplified. And I've had people ask me, well, oh my God, how do I know if I'm regulated? And how do I know if I'm in balance all the time? And am I too, like, in my sympathetic state, like really hyper mobilized and stressed out? Or am I on the other side in the parasympathetic, like hypo regulated, meaning like that kind of lethargy, low energy? And rather than worrying about like, uh-oh, where am I? It's like getting in conversation with our body and looking at it from, okay, my desired energetic state, like what would I like that to be right now? And do I need a little more gas? Or would I like to put the brakes on my body for a bit? Like, am I going too full on too fast? I just want to apply a little bit of brake. And that's a different way to look at the parasympathetic nervous system. It's just kind of like, okay, gas and brakes. There's nothing right or wrong. You're a human. You're not going to be regulated all the time, right? Life happens. And the target is more, how do we build and create a flexible nervous system, and one that doesn't get stuck in one of those states? Like, I don't get stuck in fight mode where I'm super activated and I just am angry and irritated and want to grind my teeth and fight all the time. We want to be able to flow through the states, right? And know that that's okay response. And then that's not useful a lot of the time. So how do we have flexibility to move through those states? We also don't get stuck in freeze mode, that automatic shut off switch. That again, part of the autonomic nervous system. It's the most primitive part of the nervous system that just goes, too much information in light of a threat, I just shut off and play dead. And that's like freeze mode. And it's our very ancient part of our nervous system. And we don't want to get stuck there either, right? Same with flight mode, like being in fear, like running away. And so what happens is we all have this different, like a window of tolerance of when stimulation comes in for the environment, like what is our particular nervous system reading as a threat, and how do we respond to it? So when we begin to expand our nervous system capacity in a titrated way. And what does that mean, titrated way? In little bits at a time, where you get to expand your window of like things that like energy, information, like sensory data into your body, and meet your edge while knowing like, oh, this is still like my body still is registering it's safe, and then grow from there a little bit at a time in your own pace. And sometimes you will have these big leaps, right? But the difference with titration is you get to take a sip and a sip and a sip and a gulp, but it's at your pace, your intensity level, so that your body doesn't flip out and go, wait, this isn't safe. Because we can have, it's very different than having like a big, like blowing yourself away in a big breathwork session or energetic session and having this big leap, because that is possible. But that's different than titration, because if you don't have your foot on the gas, like on the gas or brake, or your hand on the dial, then sometimes we can receive these really big changes, but the nervous system goes, that is not safe. And then what can happen after that is the nervous system goes into, well, now I need to regulate. That was too much energy, too much input. So now I need to sleep for a week, or now I'm going to be sick, or now I can't be around people. It's your body's doing its natural, beautiful thing of going, whoa, the body did not read that as safe. Our body's timeline is very different than our head, right? And our ego and what we think like, no, this is where I want to go. I want to take this massive leap. But if our body isn't along for the ride and it goes, wait, that was too much, too fast, too soon, then it puts the brakes on itself. And we often have these like, we'll fall backwards or take big steps back rather than this beautiful, sustainable growth and expansion and change. So when we can use all of our different practices, and there's so many for nervous system regulation, and use those practices, especially, this is why I love breath work, because when you are doing your own breath work and choosing your own pace and depth and intensity, and being, in a space where someone's doing that from a caring facilitation where you're the one titrating and choosing that experience, we can really have input breath that can stimulate the nervous system. Again, like activating breath, where we move towards the sympathetic state. Like we're putting the gas on, like, hey, I'd like a little energetic espresso shot today. Like let's have a little bit of that. Or you can add in a down regulating breath, a longer exhale, and that supports dropping into the parasympathetic. Like, hey, my body needs a little bit of breaks today. And you get to be in conversation with your body and choose that. There's lots of other practices, right, that you can add in. You can even just Google like ways to activate or stimulate the nervous system if you're liking, I'd like a little more gas, and ways to down-regulate or calm or like settle the nervous system. And with that, when we get to be in the driver's seat, we can expand our capacity of our nervous system. Because I know for me, and like a lot of the people I interact with, these creative like entrepreneurs or like just ambitious people, I know like myself, I got so caught up in that going, being more, becoming, doing, that my nervous system, like it's taken me a while for the nervous system to slow down. It wasn't just like, hey, I'll take a few days off and feel better. I mean, I would, but to actually pause, then like slow down the nervous system and expand that capacity for rest, for joy, for relaxation. It's actually I've been amazed at what my body is showing me. That is just very different, because that capacity, the more I've allowed time for my nervous system to adjust and expand and get out of constant doing and then kind of crash mode and then either sickness or pause for a few days and then back at it, that is very different than an actual like flexible, resilient nervous system that, yeah, there's going to be periods of stress and times that are busy at work or with relationships or family, and times where I don't feel as motivated, but we don't get stuck in either of those modes, and our body doesn't have to auto snap us back from one or the other because we haven't chosen that titration and that expansion ourselves. So that is one of the reasons I really, when I started to notice, like, wow, I'm in like early burnout mode. I was noticing I was irritated and frustrated, and I wasn't getting the joy from my job and my creativity that I had been for years. And so one of the things I did is I chose at two different points a week in nature. And I went to Costa Rica, and I just brought a bunch of books and journals and planned. The schedule is to basically do nothing. And over that week, I really just, again, allowed time for that pause. And for me, like, I really love very gentle yoga. So each day I did something with my body, because again, that for me helps to regulate my nervous system. So I did a little bit of horse riding, and then I come back and take a long bath or shower or soak in the pool, and then do some really gentle stretching. And then I ended up reading books, writing, and then having conversations with a good friend that was also there. And I noticed I had things that I was like, oh, and then maybe I'll create this and do this, because again, I love that forward momentum. But my body was like, nope, we require a little more of the breaks right now. And I just let that be. And it changed so much for me. And then about a month and a half later, I chose that again. As I said, it's like this process of, if you know titration, that term from chemistry, it's like you take very measured, slow addition of one substance into another until there's a shift and a change and a transformation. But it's this slow, measured sip idea. And I noticed, wow, that changed a lot in that week. And my body started to be like, hey, now that we know what it's like to actually live in this space that's a little more balanced and a little more like room for pause and relaxation and stillness and silence in the mind and the body, then there was like, God, such a cool way I could even experience more energy, and without getting overwhelmed, without getting like and also way more silence, stillness, space, joy, pause, peace that I hadn't experienced before. And so I kept adding to that. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do another week like that. And I did another week like that in Costa Rica. And that is part of what, after continuing over the last year and a half to really expand this capacity and flexibility. And for me, I really explored the brake pedal, because I was very good at the gas. And so this is different for everybody. It really is learning, like, okay, where for my energy and my body, like, is it asking for more of a slowdown or more of a little activation to pick me up, and choosing from there. But that led me to create and want to invite people to that experience. So I actually created that a week, just like I had in Costa Rica, for people in a retreat format. And it's coming up in November at that same place I was at. It's called El Lugar Resort in Costa Rica. It's about a couple hours out of San Jose. It's a really easy flight in. And you're in the rainforest, and you're right up against national forest, like untouched land. Whew, and there is a calmness and a peace. And so I was like, what would it be like if we got a small group together, and in the mornings, because you wake up and you hear the howler monkeys and the birds and the cowboys like getting the horses ready for the day. And I was like, well, what would it be like if we had a little bit of yoga, stretching in the morning for everybody? Like, this is not about being a bendy pretzel. It's like, getting on a mat, maybe just sitting, moving your body, taking some deep embodied breaths, being present. I had that offering in the morning. And then maybe one activity a day, because I love that sense of, okay, I'm going to go river rafting for a couple hours and like experience that adventure and talk with some people. And then I'm done for the day. And I love that. And that was very much. And then, okay, in the evening, have something like a meditative, like where I can relax and receive. And one of my good friends that I invited to facilitate at this event, so I have my friend James Tennant, who owns an incredible yoga studio in Chicago, who's coming to lead the yoga and the meditation. And then my friend Amy Shine, another phenomenal facilitator and visionary, who does these beautiful, like, You lay down and they're like sound and sensory journeys. So you very much receive. You can move your body if you feel like that, but it's not an exercise. It's very much about allowing your senses and sound and movement to create a transformation naturally, like from the inside out, and having that as an offering, like in the evening before having like meals and conversation. So, and each day is like that. There's like lots of room for just relaxation. Like, do you want to nap? Do you want to read? Do you want to lay in the sun by the pool? And then, okay, do you want to like move your body a little bit in the morning and lay down and have a conversation and good food? And then there's an option each day of one short activity. I think one day we're not even leaving the resort. We're just truly like just chilling. So I wanted to have a lot of space for that. I know for me and most of the people I interact with, I saw such a desire for that, a little bit of like the brake pedal of slowing down, but not just slowing down to like a dead stop and being like, like I feel like I can't move, but to slow down to experience more of that joy of being alive from a space that's a lot more present and still, where we can really soak up every moment. So I hope this episode contributed just a different way of looking at how we can start to look at our nervous system and our bodies and have a conversation about what energetic state do we desire, a little more gas, a little more brake, building our own practice, whatever that is for you. There's so many different ways to add on gas or the brake of the nervous system. And then invite you to, if you would like something like that, we still have a few spots left, depending on when you're listening to this podcast, for the retreat coming up November 14th to 19th in 2024 in Costa Rica. And we have just a couple spots left. And if that sounds like something your body is asking for, please reach out to me. You can DM me. You can email me at hello@emilyevansrussell.com. You can find all of the information. The pricing is incredible for this. I made it a really good deal for all these things included. It's quite phenomenal. And you can find that at emilyevansrussell.com/retreat. And if it's not this one in November, I have more coming in 2025, different locations. But really, I wanted to start offering this to people where we can be with each other, like experience the joy of like connecting with people and our bodies and slowing down or speeding up when it feels good and doing some activities, but all from the choice of our own pace, our own intensity. What do you require? What does your body need? What's it asking for? And then being there to support each other. And that's what I love doing. I love bringing together people and then finding other magical people, healers, visionaries to work with everybody and creating that environment, that space. And that's why I'm so excited about this Pura Vida retreat, which is a phrase in Costa Rica for like that contentment and joy of just being alive. And it really, that embodies this. So I hope this episode contributed. As always, let me know if you have questions about anything. And thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of that episode. If you like this podcast, please share it with someone you know who'd find it useful or interesting, and subscribe so that you can listen to past and upcoming shows.